Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the WatchRolling.com podcast, a veteran-owned podcast that focuses on watch collecting with the goal of helping veterans. My name is Jason, and welcome back. This week's been pretty interesting. I've had a lot of stuff going on personally, not bad, just, busy stuff. And it's nice to be able to sit down and focus and do a little bit of research for the podcast, get that stuff done, get prepared for this episode. And I also knocked out my taxes, so I got that going for me. Last week's episode covered the Pause Pilot Act and how watch snobbery is a two-way street. Please give it a listen if you missed it. The Puppies Assisting Wounded Service Members for Veterans Therapy Act sounds like an awesome program, and I think it'll really help out fellow veterans. It's in the pilot phase again, but I invite you to go back and listen to the episode and check out the show notes and the article I published following Monday that just details more about the Pause Act. Sounds pretty good, and I think it's going to help. In this week's episode, we're going to discuss the DAV's Patriot Boot Camp, an interesting entrepreneurial program. And for some fun stuff in the watch collecting part, I'm going to discuss some great Instagram feeds to follow for watch-related content. So I hope you like it. So in the veteran-related news, I found an article in the latest version of the DAV magazine that discusses an organization I never heard of before called the Patriot Boot Camp, or PBC for short. And so the Patriot Boot Camp whole goal is basically to provide active duty service members, veterans, and their spouses with access to mentors, educational programming, and according to them, a robust community of experts and peers to help them innovate and build impactful businesses. So it's entrepreneurial focused, specifically for veterans. And it sounds really interesting in everything I read about it. So the PBC's history, they were founded by a gentleman named Taylor McLemore, Governor Jared Polis, and Techstars co-founder David Cohen as a volunteer effort organized under the Techstars Startup Accelerator to address the gaps in entrepreneurial support that military members, veterans, and their spouses often encounter. And I think that's kind of important because, speaking from someone who started a podcast and had a blog, I had absolutely nowhere to go. I really wish I had known about Patriot Boot Camp. I would have donated some time of my own time to myself to go over there and check it out and maybe get some help, because it's been a serious learning process. I'll say that, but I'm goal focused and everything. So, I make it happen, but it sounds like this whole program is designed to help veterans out, whatever entrepreneurial vision they have. So it may not just be a podcast. It could be something else. So since 2012, Patriot Boot Camp has held 23 boot camps for over 1,000 entrepreneurs, and their alumni have raised more than $150 million in venture capital. They've also employed almost 2,000 people, and that's according to the website. So that's a pretty substantial amount of people. I don't even want to focus on the money so much. And, money's good. Everybody likes it. Don't get me wrong. But employing 2,000 people, and it's just the ability to help, your fellow veterans gain meaningful employment, and hopefully in something that they love to do. Because I think for most entrepreneurs, the ones that I know, they tend to go after the avenues that make them happy, and they just happen to make money doing it. So they have some pretty serious backing too. So looking through their material, they have mentorship partnerships with Google and are sponsored by such companies as USAA, MetLife, and more. So I know this is a brief rundown. They're also going to have a online, if you have DAV access, called the Caffeine Connect on the 21st of April between 2:30 and 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. They're going to have a chief marketing officer from a company come on, and they're going to address 3 areas basically on how to start your business up. I'm paraphrasing that, but I'll include all the links to everything down below. But for that Caffeine Connect, it looks like you're going to have a DAV login or be registered in the DAV so they can send you the email with the password and everything. I'm not going to post a password, but I will post the link on the DAV website to register. So if you have any questions, you can contact the Patriot Boot Camp directly, info@patriotbootcamp, all one word, .org. And I sent them an email, asked them a couple questions. They replied back pretty quickly, so they are answering. And I will also provide a link to their website and their YouTube channel in the show notes. So that's the Patriot Boot Camp entrepreneurial program ran by the DAV. Oh, and one last interesting topic about that. It was a standalone company started by those people, and the DAV has recently acquired it. So I don't know if they consider that a program of record like you would with the military, but it's pretty serious for the DAV to pick it up and acquire it. So I look forward to seeing what they're doing later on with the program. So in watch related news, I just want to run down some Instagram feeds that I really like. I mean, I don't know about you, but when it comes to watch collecting, there's a ton of great Instagram feeds, and there's ones that have great photography. There's ones that do funny reels. There's some that tie, other avenues into the watch collecting sphere. So they talk about some historical items or stuff like that. So I found four that I like. Trust me, there's probably like 45 that I like, and this will just be a segment I do every once in a while, but something for you to check out. So the first one, for those of you who don't know, I really love to read. I mean, I'll read anything. I read nonfiction before I go to bed, which I know some people think is weird, but my wife tends to read fiction, strictly fiction, but I tend to read nonfiction. And there's something about just continuing to learn that calms my mind down a little bit and helps me sleep. So the first IG feed is called Watches of Espionage, and it says WOE on it. Now, I love this Instagram feed. It's pretty cool. I'm going to include all the links for the Instagram feeds in the show notes, so you'll be able to check them out yourself. But there's awesome stuff on here. There's tons of cool stories from the history of espionage, and it provides a point of view from someone who actually did the work. According to the feed, it was a former CIA case officer, and I know a lot of times people will be like, "Well, how would you really know that?" Well, Hodinkee interviewed the person that runs the Instagram feed and did a whole story on him. So I gotta believe a publication, an entity like Hodinkee is going to vet their sources. So there's so much cool stuff on there. You get cool little stories, cool little tidbits. You get some stuff. You get to see items from the Instagram feed owner's personal collection. So watches that he or she owns. I'm pretty sure it's he. I don't remember seeing a name. And then you'll see stuff like challenge coins and patches. It's just a cool little look and insight into the world of espionage, how watches play a part in the world of espionage, and other items as well, and how they all kind of tie in. I'm not really like a super big EDC person, but I could easily see how an EDC person, if you are one, like if you're super into it, would love this Instagram feed. Watches of Espionage. I'll put the links in the show notes. So the second one is a buddy of mine out in Hawaii named Speedy Fett. And it's just like that, like Speedy Gonzalez and Boba Fett. Speedy Fett, one word. If you like Mandalorian helmets, Omega Poprofs, then this is the IG feed for you. I mean, did I also mention that he lives in Hawaii? So you get these cool, funny reels, beautiful views of Hawaii, as well as the occasional Mandalorian helmet. And my man has got some beefy watches. He's got some really nice military watches that he scored recently, and you could check them out. So some old Hamiltons, some Walthams. I mean, you name it, he's got them. And it's just a fun feed. I mean, he's got great reels. They're hilarious. And you can check him out on Instagram as well. And I'll include his in the show notes. Speedy Fett on Instagram. The next one is the Land Jam Pods Instagram feed. Now, they are a podcast. And while their podcast is great, I listen to it all the time. I think their IG feed is even better. They talk about stuff like, cool watch pictures. They do a lot of display a lot of historical adverts. So if you like the old school advertising for stuff, you'll see it for there. They also like cars, a little bit of travel, all that kind of stuff. And the gentlemen's names are Tommy and Sangeef, and they do a great job curating their Instagram feed. And they usually back up whatever is on the show. So if they post something on the show, you're going to get a cool Instagram feed post about it. And when you got, 10, 15 minutes and you're just sitting around waiting for something, it is a great feed to scroll through and totally supplements the podcast super well. So if you're not into podcast, at least you can check out the Instagram feed, _landjab_pod on Instagram. And I'll include there in the show notes as well. And the last one is someone who I've gotten to know, Deep Six Leatherworks. Now, Deep Six Leatherworks, the gentleman's name is Nick. He's a United States Coast Guard veteran. This guy, his name basically says it all. He creates amazing leatherworks. He does stuff like mats, charge books, covers, trays for your little bits and bobs. And that's where it kind of comes along into the watch collecting realm for me, because he made me a working mat and a dark, very nautical mat to actually take watch photos on. And the craftsmanship is just excellent. The color of the leather is beautiful. It feels great. He takes his time. He communicates super well. So if you want to check him out, he does some awesome stuff as well, where he'll have time lapse videos and he shows like a top down view of him doing the work. So if you're a veteran that's interested in leather work, I'm pretty sure you can learn some stuff by watching his videos. But if you're just someone who likes to watch awesome craftsmanship and you're in awe, I recommend you check out his Instagram feed. Me personally, like, I've discussed it on here before. I'm I'm not really handsy. I'm not, I'm honest. I'm not really good at making stuff with my hands. I'm kind of right brained. I can draw, I can paint. But as far as crafting stuff and building stuff, that's just not my wheelhouse. So Deep Six Leatherworks, give him a follow, check out his stuff. You won't regret it. He's also open for business. And if you like some cool leatherwork stuff, definitely check him out. And none of these feeds that I'm mentioning are sponsoring this podcast or this episode or this segment. It's just some feeds I've noticed and I like, and I wanted to share them with you because every once in a while we're all sitting around and wasting 15 minutes in a waiting room somewhere so you can check them out or something. I really do appreciate you turning into episode 4. This has been just a blast so far, the last 4 episodes. I'm just enjoying myself tremendously, doing a little bit of research. It really brings me some joy to be able to share specifically the veteran stuff I've found with my fellow veterans. If you're listening, I've gotten a lot of good feedback from people and some constructive criticism. I'm taking it all on board. Thanks again, and I appreciate you turning in. Next week's episode is going to feature the Veterans Canteen Services website and shopping for watches on eBay. You won't want to miss either one of these segments. The Veterans Canteen Services is really cool. If you're a disabled veteran, it's something that can totally help you out, and it's online. And you'd be surprised what you can get on there. So I think it'll be good. And then shopping for watches on eBay. Oh man, this last little more than 2 years or whatever, I've learned some tips and I've learned some tricks, and I definitely want to share them with you. So the next time you go on eBay, you score a good deal, hopefully. So, and I just want to leave you with this. We always do the positive affirmation. So even on the darkest and rainiest days, one can bring light to their soul. You just have to remind yourself that all storms pass. And remember, at watchrolling.com, you make the watch. The watch doesn't make you.